Hey, there you are. What's happening, everybody out there in Facebook land and Dog Nation? This is Chip Towers of Dog Nation coming to you from a different area of my Athens lair. And welcome tonight. Sorry, we're a little bit delayed in getting started. We had some technical difficulties getting going tonight. As you guys know, this is just a highly technical show with all kinds of bells and whistles involved. Uh, but seriously, there is more to it than there used to be with me holding my phone in the uh, ancient days, as it were. But this is Towers Take, brought to you by Marco's Pizza. As you know, Marco's Pizza is America's #1 pizza company. They make some terrific pizza, and they sponsor this show and a lot of other things at Dog Nation. So you got to love Marco's Pizza. Thanks to them, as always. By the way, before I forget, because I tend to forget such things, they've still got this deal for you at Marco's. So if you got a minute and you're hungry, and who among us is not at 6:21 p.m. in the evening with a NFL draft waiting for us? What a great time to get a pizza. You can still get that extra large cheese pizza from Marcos for $10.99. Just put in that code that Hannah Chalker has remarkably put up on the screen. See, these things I can't do when I'm holding the phone and doing it by myself. Promo code HD5092 will get you a extra large, and when I say extra large, I'm talking about this thing's big with multiple cheeses on it. Cheese pizza for $10.99. Give Marcos a call. We thank Marcos for always being involved with Dog Nation, and a lot going on. I'm kind of just getting back in the saddle. I had a birthday, had some stuff going on this week. That has not stopped goings on at the University of Georgia. They don't seem to wait around for me. Lots has been going on. Obviously, the first and foremost tonight is the NFL draft. All of us are eagerly waiting to see when Roquan Smith will be selected. Let me get this queued up so I can get your questions. We're still going to go 30 minutes tonight. We're not going to sign off at 6:30. I'm going to carry on to 6:50, I guess it is. We've got 28 comments already. Let's see what you guys have to say. Let's see. Let's get the volume turned down. There we go. Robert Hosea is predicting Roquan Smith to the Chicago Bears. Good luck to our dogs tonight, says Kibo Weir. Waiting to see where the dogs will land, says Judy Coven Sherman. Hello, Judy. Santiago is here. Where's Danny? Where's Danny? I don't know if you're referring to my daughter, Danielle Towers, aka Danny Doom of the Classic City Roller Girls. Y'all be sure and check her out. She's also a heck of a realtor and will gladly sell you a house in Athens or anywhere if you'd like to. She's good at that too. It is. Steve Walden points out it's an exciting night for football fans. And, it's an exciting night for me too, because obviously, when you do this for a living, you get to know these guys. I actually, if you hadn't had a chance to see it, I just in the last few minutes, not too much before 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, posted a story. I talked to Nicholas Chubb. You may have heard of him. Hello, Mrs. Bellamy. Bridget Bellamy here. Oh, man, are you excited, Miss Bellamy? Tell me where you guys are. Where are you guys taking in the draft, right? I haven't called Davin. I did call Nick Chubb. You can read about our conversation on dognation.com, the Towers Take there. Nick and I have it's a standing joke now. Ever since I saw him sometime before Dog Nation Appreciation Night, he jokingly, obviously I've known Nick since he was at Cedartown High. He says, "Thank you, Charles Kaiser. Belated happy birthday." He says, "I thought I left you back in Athens. I thought I got rid of you back in Athens," or something like that. Him and Sony were saying it. So now every time I run into him, which is often, he was at G-Day, they were at G-Day, and the running joke is, you're not going to get away from me. I keep running to you. And quite frankly, he didn't have to take my call from the back of the limo in Dallas, Texas, but he did. And this is why we love Nick, right? And I love Nick. Oh, I do have the Ben Cleveland Bell, but I don't have it right here at my station. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Um, but thank you for bringing up Ben Cleveland. Who was that? Go back here. Who brought up the Ben Cleveland Bell? Well, anyway, Ben Cleveland will be doing the NFL draft uh, soon enough. It's y'all. You're right, Rich, not you guys. Um, anyway, Nick was terrific, gracious as always. Didn't mind talking to me. Has a great attitude about the whole draft stuff. Some people could say that Nick, considering his career and everything, is fretting the draft, whether he'll get a call. Now, what Nick said, which is mentioned in my take, is Pat Dye, his agent, Pat Dye Jr., not his father, the Auburn coach. So there's about a 30% chance he could get a call in the first round. I'm not sure about that. I mean, based on the massive amount of mock drafts there are out there, most of them don't have him going in the first round. They definitely do Roquan Smith, obviously, and as we've gotten closer to the draft, it looks like Roquan earlier and earlier may be selected. That'll be. I'm eager to see that. Whether he beats Leonard Floyd. What was Floyd, eighth or ninth? Um, anyway, I'll be like all you guys, monitoring the draft from here. I'll be trying to get a hold of some of these guys. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to get them on the other end. You can understand what a whirlwind time this is for those guys. It is for Nick. I talked to him about that. Hello, Eric Hertz. Good to see you again. Um, did you tell us where you are, Bridget, or is that a Bridget Bellamy, or is that a state secret? Um, whatever the case is, I think it's terrific that so many players could. I mean, as many as 10 players could be selected. The record at Georgia, as has been well chronicled here lately. 2002 and 2012, I think it is. They had 8 selected. I think they had 7 maybe in 2008 or 9. I can't remember. Please don't hold me to it here. I know you guys are very gracious when it comes to this. I don't try to. I try not to have too many notes, so I'm not sitting here reading when I'm talking to you. But suffice it to say, it's going to be a big night in the NFL draft for the Georgia Bulldogs. I expect a lot of people. Okay, you got it. Bridget says they're home. That's great. That's wonderful that they're home. And that was a pretty neat thing about Nick. He was actually flying out of Dallas, Texas, back to Dallas, Georgia, of all places. He'll go through the Atlanta airport first, I assume. I actually didn't ask him if he was flying privately or publicly, but he will be actually. If you want to, I don't want to make it a thing, but I mean I've published it now. So if you want to go see Nick, I guess you might be able to say hey over at the Buffalo Wild Wings in Hiram, Georgia, or Dallas. So I had fun with he was flying Dallas to Dallas on Thursday for the NFL draft, going the wrong direction, some would say, but as always is the case with Nick, it seems like he's going in the right direction, and I hope him and all of the Bulldogs get early call. And it's really not about. I tell this to anybody who asks me, but certainly I've been through a lot of NFL drafts, gotten to know a lot of these guys, and certainly makes a difference when you're somebody like Matt Stafford and get picked with the first pick, and you're a quarterback. You kind of never come down from that high. But the rest of the draft, it's about getting drafted, period, or just making the roster. It's not about your first contract; it's about your second contract. And I think all of these guys, based on their body of work here at Georgia, have an opportunity to play in the NFL for a long time. I think Nick is one of those guys. I think Sony's one of those guys. Lorenzo could slip into the first round. Isaiah Wynn could slip into the first round. He could even end up with the Falcons. Isaiah Wynn could, though I would imagine Dan Quinn, being the defensive guy he is, would probably take a defensive guy like he usually does in those high profile selections, defense first and all that. In the meantime, recruiting's going on. I've gotten some questions here already from several of you. You know, these are better directed to Jeff Sentell, but Georgia just got a commitment from a big old guy in the 2020 class, big both in physically and number 6 rated in the class of 2020. So it's not the 2019 class, but the 2020 class. Broderick Jones out of my old neck of the woods, Lifonia. And, I mean, I tell you what, if there's been, um, any consistently impressive thing about Kirby Smart and his recruiting since he's got here, it's how he's turned things around on offensive line recruiting. Part of it is philosophy, part of it is determination and direction. But certainly Georgia wasn't signing this many really, really highly rated and really, really large offensive linemen under Mark Richt before. So it's obviously something that Kirby Smart and his staff really believe in. Now, I think they need to get it going on defensive line recruitment and quick. And Kirby will tell you that himself. Um, as defensive line goes, is how teams go largely in the SEC. But he's really done a fantastic job with turning around on the offensive line. And I think this Broderick Jones guy will add to it. I mean, it wasn't all balloons and celebrations for Georgia on the recruiting front this week. They did lose a recruit. And I say lose. I mean, it's hard to tell on these things. But Kyle Hamilton was at G-Day, and according to Jeff Sentell, was a big target. He chose Notre Dame, the team that Hannah Chalker back in the studio is showing you some graphics of Georgia against Notre Dame last year. And you never can tell. He's a big safety, a highly rated guy, and I'm sure Georgia wants all these guys. Georgia wants everybody that's any good. And before I forget it, speaking of Hannah, and again, apologies for some technical difficulties tonight, but sometimes, I mean, that just happens, and especially seems to always happen. It wasn't a Hannah fault, but you're dealing with hardware and stuff, and so we had some problems here tonight. And Mark LeBlanc, who is really the nerve center of our nerve center, had a baby yesterday. Little Connor was born, and so he's out, and we're not going to bother Mark LeBlanc. And so congratulations on the birth of Connor LeBlanc. Really good looking kid, his first as I understand it. And there is nothing more wonderful than that. And, Connor LeBlanc now shares my birthday. So I know that's particularly rewarding for Mark and his wife. But really am excited about that. Let me pay attention to your questions here. I'm sorry, I'm rambling on. A lot to talk about. And hey, how about those Diamond Dogs, right? Beat Georgia Tech this week. And, I forget how many of it. I think it's 5 in a row over Georgia Tech, which goes back to like 85 to 87 when Georgia was really rolling under Steve Weber. Really happy to see what that program is doing under Scott Strickland. They're rolling pretty well now. And got a big series this weekend with Tennessee in Athens. So y'all try to go up there and see them play. They're amazing. That Aaron Shunk guy, 4 for 5 last night, plays third base, knocks the cover off the ball and closes for them, but they're getting a lot of other good pitching too. Getting some Fields and Fromm conversation. I'll address that. Robert Wilkie talking about I don't see Jake backing down from a fight, but Fields will play, and there were several other comments about him before. I guess it's the first time we've talked since G-Day. Fields looked great in that game. Fromm did not look great. He didn't have a really good game. I mean, obviously I follow his parents on Facebook, and even Lee, his mother, said wasn't the greatest of days, but I sure did enjoy watching Jake play and getting a hug from him afterwards. And you can't. I don't think you can draw too much from inter-squad games. Period. Really. But I mean, I actually. Let's think about this a minute. I would have to think for a long time when the backup really didn't outshine the starter in any spring game that I've seen. I mean, it seems to always be the case. It helps that the backup or the new guy is generally running the number 2 offense and going against the number 2 defense. So the Competition is a little less, though you can set it up however you want as a coach. For instance, Dan Mullen, he's got his number one offense going against the number two defense, so they're going to look great. You can do whatever you want. Let me get this question real quick from Miriam Martin Corbin. What time is the draft tonight? 8 p.m. Eastern time, live from Dallas, Texas, and Jerry World, actually, Arlington, Texas. And you can find coverage of it everywhere. I mean, we'll be reporting on it, but Fox and the NFL Network are the primary television, but ESPN will be following it, and AJC is covering it, and we'll be covering it from a Georgia perspective. SEC Country, all your SEC Country sites will be all over it. Hello, Shannon Baker, how are you? So there's I don't see Jake Fromm losing his starting spot based on the G-Day game or based on practice at all. I mean, if he somehow loses his spot, which is a long shot, it'll be the same way Jacob Eason lost his, would be via injury or non-performance in actual games. That's the only way that's going to happen. I mean, crazier things, I guess, have happened, but I really don't anticipate that. It's really close when I do that, isn't it? Wow, it's a little too close. I'll stay back. I'm in a different spot today. Normally, I'm in my office. I'm down here on the main floor of my house tonight, just for a change of view, really. And it's actually a little bit better for me. If y'all like it, let me know. I can do like Jeff and put my Dog Nation backdrop there. But actually it forces me to clean up my house a little bit, so make sure the stuff's not laying around. Nakia Hester talking about the play of Prather Hudson, a hard runner. He is a hard runner. He took some licks in that game too. Prather Hudson's pretty good. He's kind of like along the lines of Stetson Bennett. I mean, I think he's a guy who can play. He's obviously smaller, but he does the right things with the ball. He shoots it up in there, finds the gap, runs hard, and just like Nick Chubb and Sony Michel predicted to me, I asked them who they thought the leader rusher was going to be, and they correctly called Prather Hudson as the leading. I'm not centered here. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, there's that. The G-Day game overall, I mean, I actually thought the black defense, the number one I thought they played a little better. That had something to do with Jake's performance. I like what Jake said after the game. He was talking about we knew going in we were going to play one of the best defenses in the SEC. I mean, that's Georgia's number one defense. You did lose a lot of talent, a lot of which we'll see drafted over the next couple of days. But at the end of the day, they still have some pretty good players here, and somebody's ringing my bell, and it actually could be Marcos, but I'm not gonna get it right now. So we'll just pretend that's the Ben Cleveland bell right now. Let's see, what other questions do we hear? So the Notre Dame transfer, that was the other big news this week. Thank you, Kevin Wood. I'm not an idiot. I actually have this written down. I meant to mention it, but I think that's a great addition to Georgia's team. I don't know that it's, the kid played a lot at Notre Dame and started this past season, but I don't think it's necessarily a deal breaker. I'm trying to text somebody to stop knocking on my door, but I'm not going to be able to. So we'll just have to listen to that for a little while longer. Jay Hayes, I might have talked to Jay Hayes when I was at South Bend. You remember last year I went to South Bend and ran some reconnaissance and did some stories and everything on Jay Hayes when I was up there covering Notre Dame, but ahead of the Georgia game last year. And he's a good player. I mean, he's going to help you. There's no way a graduate transfer is they're not going to come. It's kind of like the other guys. So hang on a second. Let me go get that real quick. I'm going to come right back. We've only got 10 more minutes, so I'll come right back. Hang on. Hey, everybody. I'm back. Thank you for filling the air there, Hannah. That was not Marcos. That was actually our neighbor, Santiago, looking for my son. So sorry about that. Hey, we try to keep it real here, and apparently he was going to stay there until I answered the phone. Answered the door. So there is your Ben Cleveland Bell for the night. Charles, yes, I thought it was the Marcos Pizza delivery guy who hasn't gotten here yet. It's not because I called it later. I kind of like it when it shows up during the show. Uh, yeah, we'll try to make that happen in the future. But yes, I agree with Shannon Baker and several others here. I do believe that Jay Hayes is a great pickup for Georgia. Georgia has serious depth problems on the defensive line. I think by and large Georgia's front line of the front seven is formidable, very good. And I think the offense, despite what Jay Fromm showed and everybody else showed in the G-Day game, I think they're going to be a very good offensive team. I actually like the wide receiver core. I think the running backs are going to be great. You're going to see DeAndre Swift, a lot more Terry Godwin, a lot more of maybe even Zamir White. I like Georgia's line. I think they're going to be good. So I don't think you're going to have to be quite the shutout specialist that Georgia's defense was last year. But that said, Jay Hayes will help you. Now, the key is going to be how he fits in. He tends to have played a sort of defensive end position. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Notre Dame is a 4-3 base. Georgia is more like a 3-3-5 nowadays, or 4-2-5, however you want to say it. It's all the same thing. And Georgia's really not hurting that much for defensive ends. I would imagine he's going to come in there and play some, 3 to 5 technique tackle. That's what Georgia needs. But, I'm sure they've worked all that out. That's the reason the kid is coming. And this is another thing that Kirby does a great job with. I think he's made it clear in a couple of years, every year he comes up with a transfer. Last year it was Akil Crumpton and Cameron Nizilik. And while Cameron Nizilik, made huge contributions and Akil Crumpton didn't, he did make some contribution. He had that long touchdown against Georgia Tech and a few others, and he's looked really good this spring, as you guys probably saw from the G-Day game, both in the returns game and in the offense. So all those guys make a difference. Tyler Simmons has looked very, very good. Kevin Wood is answering this week. I'm gonna have to get a bell for Zamir White and rehab. I get 3 or 4 different bells here. I'll have my Ben Cleveland bell. It'll make one sound. I'll have another one that'll make the Zamir White rehab sound. This rehab is going great. Couldn't be going any better. I'm blown away every time I see Zamir White. Leading up to the G-Day game for a minute there, I was like, are they going to play him by some chance? Because he was like running through the ball security deals. And running through dummies, making cuts, diving, full pads. Now he always goes to the side during contact work, and I don't think that's going to make a difference. But so here, keeping on the transfer thing, as Petey Wheatstraw is talking about, Mo Smith by far the best transfer of the Kirby era. And then there's this other thing about Kirby talking about the never stop recruiting thing. Is the late additions, last year Monty Rice, a guy everybody had written off for LSU for a while. He ends up showing up for Georgia. Announced for LSU, and then even Riley Ridley, shows up late, and as an early enrollee, no less. So. With that guy, it never stops. There's Monty Rice. You just never stop on the recruiting. And I think Monty Rice now, they divided it up. He played on the red defense, was technically the number 2 defense, with Natrez Patrick. But I think they were just trying to evenly distribute the linebackers as much as they could. Tay Crowder and Jawan Taylor were the starters on the black team, but look, all 4 of those guys are going to play. There's not going to be another Roquan Smith, who we'll see here in a little bit. Is going to be as it were, a lottery pick in the NFL. So we only got about 5 more minutes left. So I want to get your questions. Thanks for some of you guys hanging around and being here. Um, hey, be sure and share it. Maybe we'll get a few more in these last few minutes. Um, Joey Southwest pointed Tyler Simmons dropped more passes than he caught on G Day. He looked awful. I disagree. I don't put a whole lot into catches and drops in the G Day game. Georgia was not a drop heavy team last year overall, and they're not a drop heavy team right now. The G Day game is just like the Jake Fromm um, performance. I mean, these guys, they say they're focused and determined and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure they are, but it's different. I mean, I don't think Jake Fromm. I mean, Jake Fromm. Wouldn't you agree? He got better with the moments last year as Georgia's coach, and I mean Georgia's starting quarterback. And I don't think that he is, necessarily as attuned as he would be in a real game. Yeah, and Alan Verbonic's talking about Kirby will pick up one or two more experienced defense tackle. Now I don't know about that. Georgia has a numbers issue. That's why we're seeing some of these transfers lately, and I might as well touch on that. I mean, I've been just really getting back in the saddle this weekend. I've been doing some traveling for work too, but I just, I hate it for these kids who are, especially like a guy like Pat Allen, Sam Madden too, Jaleel Legwins, maybe all of their reasons for leaving are completely self-motivated, but I don't really buy that, to be honest, quite 100%. And I understand you want your team to win, but I like the idea of when you sign these guys of making a 5-year commitment to them. I just think it's only fair, in the grand scheme of things, in the with the college mission being what it is. And Pat Allen, I've exchanged some texts with him. I haven't been able to talk with him on the record. He's probably not going to, because that's a big condition of all these things. But he didn't want to leave Georgia. I mean, he loved Georgia, and I remember going up and interviewing him for Next Generation in Maryland. He was so excited about it, and this stuff tough, But I get it. It's big time football, and it's it's not so much about college and education anymore. I mean, Pat Allen will be okay. Jaleel Legwins will be okay. But at the end of the day, if these guys aren't playing, but they want to stay, I mean, I think they should be allowed to do so, because it's really the school and the coach's mistake for signing these guys, not their mistake. I mean, they're all, I mean, sometimes you got attitude and disciplinary situations, but if it's not that, you're doing everything right, which by and large it seems these guys are doing. I don't know that 100%, but anyway, I mean, I hate to see that, but Kirby and his staff are trying to win football games and trying to put better players on the field, and we've seen that from Nick Chubb for years. I mean, Nick Saban for years, and we criticized him sometimes for this kind of stuff, but now it's happening here. Charles Felder wants to know my take on Owen Papo, or Papo, however you're supposed to pronounce it. I don't really have a take on it. I just don't know the recruiting guys as well, especially this early in it. Jeff hands those guys off to me after they've signed with Georgia, and I've been actually talking to some of these guys now. Kevin Wood wants to know about Gibbs' return. I haven't heard anything about that lately. I would not count on him being back until you see him back. And there's been no announcement. There's not going to be an announcement. I imagine we'll know when Gibbs is back when we see him on the field, or I don't anticipate Kirby making any kind of announcement or anything. So I will. I'll follow up on that. We'll see what we can find out over the next few weeks from D'Angelo or his family. Got to start wrapping it up pretty quick. Sweater Man has finally shown up. You're late, Jesse. Jesse Lee Kinney is here, consummate Georgia basketball fan. Love what Tom Crean is doing and saying. He did a great job at halftime of the G-Day game. Very exciting guy, and exciting for Georgia basketball, and a lot of good things happening on that front. Yeah, I know that about Papo, Allen. I know he's all dog for sure. Um, Shannon Baker wants to know, is DeAndre Swift the best running back in the nation this season? Oh, I don't know about that. That's so hard to tell. Was Sony Michelle or Nick Chubb the best in the nation? Well, they would. I guess that was Saquon Barkley, as the draft will tell us tonight. But I do think Swift is exceptional, and he will start for Georgia right away. And just the fact they kept him out with a groin injury tells you, a good bit about him. Petey Wheatstraw wants to know if Georgia has a wide receiver who can take the top off of defenses, not possession wide receivers. I mean, I think Riley Ridley is one of those guys. I actually think Jason Stanley, believe it or not, can be one of those guys. You guys, I don't know how familiar you are with how fast Jason Stanley is, but he's one of the fastest guys on the team. Obviously, he's had some significant drops in his career, but the key to football and college football and all sports is not remaining stagnant. It's not a static thing. You're supposed to be improving, and I would imagine Jason Stanley is too. And after those unfortunate incidents at the end of last year, Mitch McCarty is now watching. Hello, Mitch. Mitch and some of my classmates are mourning the death of one of our classmates from Reed Mike Hollis, and so definitely. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Yeah, Jill Cobb Burke says Kirby was just interviewed out in Texas. We'll probably see a lot of Kirby tonight. Glenn Schumann is out there with Roquan as well. Some pretty good stuff on the UGA Twitter feed about that. You'll have to check out. But I'm out of time here. Charles Kaiser wants to know how Nate McBride is looking. Looks great. He's in the mix. Fast guy, big enough. We'll see how he does. He's not in the, I guess, top 4, you would say, based on the hierarchy from G-Day, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. I tell you where you're definitely going to see Nate McBride is a lot of special teams. He did that last year, played in all 15 games. I mean, even Monty Rice did do that. He played in 14. So I'm going to wrap it up from here. So we should be back in the territory. You're welcome, Mitch. You're welcome, Terry Fountain, where we're going to be 6 o'clock every Thursday. And big thanks to Hannah Chalker for getting it done in there. Don't forget, now I mentioned you earlier, but you can get that extra large big pizza. You watching the draft tonight from Marco's Pizza. We've got a deal for you. Save the code. Write this down, HD5092. You can see it on the screen right there. And call them, get you an extra large pizza for $10.99. I ought to have one here any minute. That was not them at the door a while ago. But I'm looking forward. I'll be watching the draft tonight and providing updates, as well as our breaking news reporters will on Dog Nation all night. And, next week we'll talk about some more at the same time, the same place, 6 o'clock every Thursday night for Towers Take on Facebook Live, brought to you by Marco's Pizza. For everybody back in Atlanta, Hannah Chalker and the new father, Mark LeBlanc. Night, y'all.